The day Aunt Victoria died, she was worth exactly $89,347,526. I know because she texted me the number that morning, along with her usual message. The truth has a price, dear one. Are you ready to pay it? Now, standing in her lawyer's office the day before her funeral, I watched my family's carefully maintained facade begin to crack. My father, Richard Harrison, CEO of Harrison Global, kept adjusting his Italian silk tie. My mother's perfectly manicured hands wouldn't stop trembling. My older brother James looked like he might be sick. Let's begin, Mr. Peters, Aunt Victoria's lawyer, cleared his throat. The last will and testament of Victoria Elizabeth Harrison. I sat quietly, wearing the simple black dress Aunt Victoria had bought me last month. For when the time comes, she'd said with that knowing smile of hers. Remember, appearances matter most to those with something to hide. To my brother Richard, Mr. Peters read, I leave my collection of family photographs. May they serve as a reminder of what really happened that summer. My father's face twitched. To my sister-in-law Margaret, I leave my jewelry collection, especially the ruby necklace. You always wanted it, didn't you? Even back then. My mother's hand flew to her throat. To my nephew James, I leave my summer house in the Hamptons. The one with the interesting basement archives. James actually whimpered. And to my beloved niece Olivia, Mr. Peters continued, I leave everything else. My company, Harrison Innovation Technologies, all associated patents and properties, my personal fortune, and... He paused, pulling out a sealed red envelope. This letter to be opened and read aloud at my funeral tomorrow. The room exploded. This is outrageous, my father thundered. Victoria's company belongs with Harrison Global. With the family. I am family, I reminded him quietly. You're 26. You can't run an $89 million tech empire. Mr. Peters cleared his throat again. Actually, Miss Olivia has been running it for the past year. Victoria made her CEO last spring. That silenced everyone. I'd kept that secret just as Aunt Victoria had asked. Just like I'd kept all her secrets. There's more, Mr. Peters added. The inheritance is conditional. Miss Olivia must read the contents of this envelope at tomorrow's funeral. If she refuses, everything goes to charity. My father lunged for the envelope, but Mr. Peters deftly tucked it into his briefcase. Only Olivia can open it. Tomorrow. At the funeral. Olivia, my mother's voice took on the syrupy tone she used for manipulation. Darling, perhaps we should discuss this as a family. Over dinner? There are things you don't understand. Like what happened that summer? I asked innocently. Or why Aunt Victoria left Harrison Global to start her own company. The color drained from her face. James stepped forward. Liv, think about what you're doing. Some secrets should stay buried. I thought about the late nights with Aunt Victoria, reviewing documents, learning the truth about our family's empire. About the real reason she'd chosen me as her heir. The funeral's at noon tomorrow, I said, standing up. I suggest you all be there. As I left the office, my phone buzzed with one final message from Aunt Victoria, scheduled before her death. The truth isn't just about revenge, dear one. It's about justice. Make it count. I clutched the key she'd given me last week, the one to her private office safe. Inside was everything I needed to understand what tomorrow's letter would reveal. It was time to visit that safe. Aunt Victoria's office occupied the entire top floor of Harrison Innovation Technologies headquarters. Unlike the sterile corporate environment of Harrison Global, her space was filled with art, vintage photographs, and cutting-edge technology seamlessly blended together. Just like her, a perfect mix of past and future. My fingerprint unlocked her private elevator, another secret I'd kept. The office lights activated automatically, illuminating the wall of achievements that had driven my father crazy with jealousy. Every award, patent, and innovation that had made her company worth more than Harrison Global's entire tech division. Hello, Miss Olivia. The AI system she developed greeted me. Aunt Victoria left specific protocols for today. Of course she had. She'd planned everything. The safe was hidden behind a Monet reel, not a reproduction like the ones in my father's office. The key fit perfectly, but there was also a retinal scan and a question. What did I tell you the day you found the first document? I smiled, remembering that afternoon 3 years ago when I'd accidentally discovered financial records in her study. The truth fears no questions. The safe clicked open. Inside was a single USB drive and another envelope marked "Read First." Her elegant handwriting filled the page. "Dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, I'm dead and you've just inherited an empire built on the ashes of betrayal. The USB contains every document, recording, and piece of evidence I've collected over 20 years. Why you? Because you alone asked the right questions. Remember when you found those financial records? Instead of ignoring them like James would have, or using them for blackmail like your father would have, you asked why. You wanted to understand. The letter you'll read tomorrow isn't just about revenge. It's about correcting a historic wrong. Your father didn't just steal my company designs 20 years ago. He stole something far more precious. Tomorrow, everyone will know what really happened the summer Harrison Global suddenly became a tech pioneer. But first, you need to understand everything. Review the files. Prepare yourself. They'll try to stop you tomorrow, your father, James, even your mother. They've built their lives on this lie. The truth is your shield. Love, Aunt Victoria. I've left instructions with Mr. Peters. If anything happens to you, everything goes public automatically. They can't stop this. My hands trembled as I inserted the USB into her secure computer system. Files appeared, hundreds of them. Financial records, emails, photographs. "Oh my God," I whispered, opening the first video file. It was security footage from 20 years ago, the night Harrison Global mysteriously acquired its breakthrough technology. There was my father, entering Aunt Victoria's old lab after hours. There was the safe being opened with a key he shouldn't have had. And there, my phone buzzed. "James, we need to talk. No. Family dinner at Harrison House. Non-negotiable." Another message from my mother. "Darling, please be reasonable. Come home. We can sort this out." And finally my father. "Whatever you think you know, you don't understand the full picture. Don't destroy this family tomorrow." I looked at the video still playing, at the young Victoria discovering her lab ransacked the next morning, at the tears streaming down her face as she realized what her own brother had done. "I understand perfectly," I whispered, downloading everything to a secure server. "And tomorrow so will everyone else." The AI system spoke again. "Miss Olivia, your father and brother have just entered the building lobby." I smiled, pocketing the USB. Aunt Victoria had taught me well. Always be 2 steps ahead. "Activate Protocol Omega," I commanded. The office went into immediate lockdown. Let them come. I had preparations to make and a funeral speech to write. The morning of Aunt Victoria's funeral dawned clear and cold. I arrived early at the cathedral she'd specifically chosen. "Good acoustics," she'd noted in her final instructions, "for when the truth echoes." The USB drive felt heavy in my clutch bag as I watched the family's power players arrive. My father and James huddled near the entrance, both looking like they hadn't slept. My mother worked the crowd, no doubt trying to drum up support for whatever intervention they had planned. "Miss Harrison," Mr. Peters appeared at my elbow. "Everything is in place as your aunt requested. Security is positioned at all entrances and the live stream is ready." Ah yes, the live stream, Aunt Victoria's masterstroke. The funeral wasn't just being attended by family and friends, but broadcast live to every Harrison Innovation Technologies employee and major tech news outlet. "Let them all witness it," her instructions had read. "No more hiding in boardrooms. Olivia." My father's voice carried that forced calm he used for hostile takeovers. "We need to talk. Now." I turned, noting how his expensive suit couldn't hide the desperation in his eyes. "About what, Dad? About how you stole Aunt Victoria's quantum encryption designs? Or about what really happened to her original patents?" His face went pale. "You don't understand. The company was failing. Harrison Global was about to go bankrupt. I did what I had to do. By stealing your sister's life's work? By forcing her out of her own company. I gave her a choice," he hissed. "She could have stayed, been part of the family legacy. Under your control," I finished, using her innovations while taking all the credit. James appeared beside him. "Liv, think about what you're doing. This isn't just about the past. Harrison Global's stock will crash. Thousands of jobs. Will be perfectly safe," I cut him off. Because unlike you, I actually learned how to run a company properly. Aunt Victoria taught me everything, while you were busy spending her money at the Hamptons house you just inherited. The church bells chimed, signaling the start of the service. The red envelope felt warm in my hands as I took my place at the podium. The livestream lights blinked on, and I saw my mother make one last desperate attempt to reach me before security stopped her. Victoria Harrison, I began, was more than my aunt. She was a visionary who understood that true innovation comes from integrity, not theft. She left me her company with one condition, that I read this letter at her funeral. I opened the envelope and my father actually took a step forward before security blocked his path. My dearest family, I read Victoria's words crystal clear in the perfect acoustics. For 20 years, you've lived on stolen dreams. Richard, my brother, you thought you destroyed all evidence of what happened that night. But I was always smarter than you. The USB footage began playing on the large screens, security video showing my father stealing the designs, falsifying documents, destroying evidence. But that wasn't your darkest crime, I continued reading. The real truth, the one that's eaten at your conscience, is about the patents. The ones you didn't just steal, you murdered for. The cathedral went completely silent. Dr. Marcus Chin, I read on, my voice steady. My research partner. The official story was a car accident. The truth? He was going to expose you. The insurance investigation I secretly funded proved it wasn't an accident at all. On the screens, new evidence appeared: photos, documents, the real accident report. In the front row, my father collapsed into his seat. But I'm not like you, Richard, the letter continued. I don't believe in destruction. I believe in justice. Which is why I've spent 20 years building something better. Something honest. And finding someone worthy to continue that legacy. I looked directly into the cameras. As of this moment, Harrison Innovation Technologies is announcing a merger with what remains of Harrison Global. But under our terms. Plain. Transparent. The way it always should have been. The screens filled with transaction details, showing how Aunt Victoria had quietly gained controlling interest in my father's company over 2 decades. The truth fears no questions, I finished, using her favorite phrase. And justice fears no power. The cathedral erupted in chaos, but above it all, I swear I could hear Aunt Victoria's laugh. She'd won. We'd won. And this was just the beginning. 1 year after Aunt Victoria's funeral, I stood in her office. My office now, looking out over the city. The merged Harrison Victoria Technologies had become exactly what she'd envisioned. A beacon of ethical innovation. My father hadn't contested anything. The evidence was too overwhelming and his choices were limited. Face criminal charges or accept a quiet retirement with strict oversight. He chose the latter, spending his days in a modest house, a far cry from his former mansion. Miss Harrison? My assistant entered with the morning briefing. The annual memorial ceremony for Dr. Chen starts in an hour. His family has arrived from Singapore. I nodded, adjusting the vintage brooch that had belonged to Aunt Victoria. And the announcement? Ready to go. The Marcus Chin Innovation Center for Ethical Technology will open today, funded by the recovery of those original stolen patents. The press is calling it Justice Full Circle. My phone buzzed James, who'd spent the past year in mandatory ethics training as part of his plea deal. He'd avoided jail time by cooperating, revealing every dark secret of Harrison Global's past. Live, his message read. I'm ready to make my presentation to the ethics board. Thank you for giving me a chance to make things right. Unlike our father, James had chosen redemption. He now headed our corporate responsibility division, turning his insider knowledge of corruption into tools for prevention. My mother had divorced my father and started a foundation supporting whistleblowers in tech. Your aunt would be proud, she told me last week. She always said the truth would set us free. I just never understood what we needed freedom from. Miss Harrison? My assistant returned. There's something else. We found another safe in the old Harrison Global building. It contains documents from the early days. I smiled. Let me guess, Aunt Victoria left instructions about that too? Yes. She said, the final piece isn't about revenge. It's about legacy. The safe contained the original handwritten notes for her quantum encryption system, the innovation my father had stolen. But it also contained something else. Her personal journal, documenting not just the theft, but her long-term plan for redemption. My dearest Olivia, the final entry read, dated just days before her death. By now you've restored justice, but that was only part of the mission. The real challenge is building something better from the ashes of deception. The company is yours, but remember, true power isn't in controlling secrets, but in using truth to light the way forward. I touched the quantum encryption processor on my desk, her original design, now powering technologies that protected privacy worldwide. The Marcus Chin Center will continue your work, I whispered. Ethical innovation just as you dreamed. The morning sun caught the edge of her portrait on the wall, the one where she stood proudly before her first patent application. Below it now hung a new photo. Dr. Chin with his research team, including a young Victoria, all smiling with the optimism of true innovators. My phone buzzed again, a message from Mr. Peters. Your aunt left one final instruction to be delivered today. Check the safe room's back panel. Behind the panel I found a small box containing a single key and a note. For when you're ready to unlock the next chapter. Some secrets aren't dark, they're bright with possibility. Start with the basement of the Hampton house. James never did figure out what those archived blueprints really were. I laughed, realizing she'd planned even this moment. One last adventure, one last innovation waiting to be discovered. Ms. Harrison, it's time for the ceremony. I pocketed the key, straightened my jacket and headed out. The Marcus Chin Center awaited, and with it, the next chapter in a legacy built not on secrets and theft, but on truth and justice. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't just exposing the past, it's building a better future from its lessons.